Coming up on Mountain Hermeneutics, should Christians be down with physician-assisted dying? What about pulling the plug? Well, we'll have some thoughts on it, so keep it right here. You're listening to Mount Hermeneutics, where three Marines give their perspective on God, faith, and spirituality with a heavy lean on the divine council worldview. This is not your grandma's Sunday school, nor is it always for the Christian faint of heart. Nothing about who we are or what we say make us experts. But you better believe we'll have a take, and perhaps it won't suck.
Well, I'm a loudmouth. I'm out in the town, talking to Christians about Christian stuff, and people overhear it and they wanna fight about it.
Feel attacked.
Well,
You guys are always bullying me.
Stop being wrong.
I'm not okay. way ahead of you, man. I beat you there.
fellas, what's happening?
Oh, gentlemen, how are you?
I'm fair to middling.
Nice. You survived 4th of July?
I did.
I mean, I see you, so did everyone?
This might be AI.
Well, you're not seeing his fingers or other extremities.
Oh man, so I actually got a sunburn. I know.
Yeah. I feel like this could turn into an episode of Club Shay Shay.
Yeah, I got sunburned. I was on the beach. I uncovered myself. It's been covered for a long time. I spent the whole day. My shoulders, they haven't seen the sun for a long time.
Okay. I didn't know if you went to Black's Beach or where you were for the 4th.
Yikes. It's funny. My son was at a party with a few drunk Marines, and
that's not a good way to start a story.
It's some college kids, and they're like, "So what's up, dude? Are you D1?" And he's like, "I was." And they're like, "Oh, bro, what happened?" I graduated. Oh, so would you play? You look like you play safety. I ran track. You're too big to run track.
You look like a whole ass gorilla.
Yeah, so you think you're fast? He's like, I'm pretty fast. I don't know. Like other people tell me I'm fast.
I don't say it, they say it.
I'm like, all of a sudden he's Donald Trump. Like he's like, no, I'm not. They tell me I'm the fastest, but
you can ask anyone. People often do.
And it's funny because he doesn't say anything, and then the whole peanut gallery is like, this guy is the GOAT. He's the best ever. So he's like, I mean, I don't know about that. Like, come on, man, you're Mr. Big West. So like, whatever. But of course, the guy's like, I played football in high school. Oh, yeah.
He probably benched 300 pounds in high school too.
I was a linebacker. I'd fucking light you up.
Yeah.
Like, I bet you would. Yeah. Congrats, my man. You want a drink? Are you okay? Like, wait. So that's heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? People just walk around trying to challenge you all the time. I imagine if you just come from working out and you walk out to your car in your gi, someone's like, "Oh, so you know karate? Want to fucking fight?" It's like, dude, I just trying to work out,
Why always change? And
you always change this side, so you don't have to kill people on the side of the road.
It just
go walking out to your car, just smoke checking fools.
Too many bodies
dropped to the face.
Because it's funny though, because my buddy used to run a Krav Maga dojo, and Andrew, my brother, was a assistant instructor there. My buddy Kenny was the lead instructor. I used to like to go. It was fun hanging out with my buddies and do a little squabbles. And they had some hoodies and stuff, and I bought one because you wear it into the gym, whatever, right? But I always thought about that, like if I was wearing the hoodie and I was like leaving, I'm like, and I got to stop and get gas, I'm like, I'm just gonna take the hoodie off. Because I don't want somebody to be like, yo, Krav Maga, can you fight? Because then you got like 3 answers. No, I stole the hoodie off of a guy who did Krav Maga. Right. Or you say,
I killed a guy who took his hoodie.
Right. Or you say, no, that's why I go to the gym, because I don't know how to fight. Like, they're like, but any way that you answer that sounds stupid and antagonistic at the same time.
So bro, you can get one for $39.99. Right. Just like me, it's pretty comfy. Like I
bought it on Etsy, but it's hella soft on the inside.
It's black. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, so
makes me want to jump out of a window or something.
Well, that's illegal. But if you got a doctor to help you do it, then it's good to go, right?
Was that a segue to today's topic?
It's
I mean, you know,
as good as any.
right?
All right. I mean,
It might have been ham-fisted, but you know, I did what I did. What, you
yeah,
want to
you
fight?
got
You want
us
to fight
there.
about it?
No,
I don't want to fight her.
I don't even go to the places Hoodie's talking about.
The hood, not the hoodie.
You go to the hood and you rock a hoodie,
Speaking of, why people in the hood always wearing hoodies when it's hot outside? That's a
I-
whole different conversation for a different episode.
my little yard sale yesterday, and it was warm. It's SoCal in the summer, and a lady comes up in jeans and a hoodie and starts looking through stuff. I'm like,
Brother, I saw a guy in 102-degree weather walking down the street, the side of the road in a hoodie. I'm like, and you wonder why you get profiled,
Yeah, that kind of makes me think he's doing some crime.
right?
then again, on the beach,
And he was
brothers
he was melanin challenged, by the way, just to be
brothers
clear.
brothers be wearing they be rocking those starter jackets on the beach. Remember that back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Like, homie, you're wearing Jordans, jeans, and a starter jacket. It's the summertime, and you're grilling. Like, what are you doing, homie? What are you doing?
Had
What are you
like
doing?
three different starter jackets.
Hmm.
They were all Spurs.
Those
They
were
were all Spurs.
popular.
Yeah.
Oh, so they were black and gang related. That's
Well, I mean,
I know. Not your
there's
fault.
there were no gangster rappers that ever reps SA, so you know it was kind of on the safer side.
Okay.
I grew up
Right.
in the suburbs.
Oh,
No starter
That's-
jackets.
that's nice.
No,
In
I don't think I
California,
ever
that's
had
where
one.
all the starter jackets are, suburbs.
Because nobody
that's-
could afford them.
Yeah,
Yeah, because this
and that's
thing's
where
like
they get
150
that's where they get
bucks.
stolen from at gunpoint. That's where.
Yeah. So what are we
Brian,
talking about, guys?
Do you have an issue with assisted suicide, Brian?
Do I have an issue with it?
Yeah. We'll start with you.
Just jump right into it.
Just jump right in.
I'm ambivalent about it. Well, first off, I think we should establish that like this is a listener requested topic.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
Oh yeah.
Good catch. Look at Brian doing the
Yeah.
the listener work. Yeah.
Also, don't blame us. Like we didn't want to.
Right. So we asked everybody, we were like, hey, give us feedback, give us topics you want to hear us talk about. And one of the first to hit the queue was this question. It was, I think the question said specifically, what does the Bible say about assisted suicide, specifically for the terminally ill? Terminally ill. That's a mouthful. And so we thought we'd address it because it does come up, unfortunately. The way the circle of life is and Father Time being undefeated, it's, if you're listening, you've probably either dealt with this or you will deal with this issue at some point. So we thought it was worth a chat. I think
there's one Bible story that I know off the top of my head. Was it King Saul that was like in some kind of battle, and then he wanted someone to kill him, and he like told him no, so then he fell on his own sword but didn't die, and then asked somebody else and he killed him, and he goes back to David. He's like, hey, I killed Saul, but he wanted me to, and he's like, not good enough, you die too. Did I sum that up right?
Yeah, I think you hit all the main points.
I don't know. Is that in Kings? Where is that?
That is in 2 Samuel.
Second Samuel. That makes
Oh, wait.
sense.
that makes
Wait,
sense.
no.
Is it like the last chapter?
It's like the end of 1 Samuel, start of 2 Samuel.
Yeah.
I think he does it in the last chapter of 1 Samuel, and then David.
Then the falling action happens in the second
Well,
Samuel.
he kills himself at the end of 1 Samuel.
Right.
David
I didn't mean the
gets
falling
news.
on the sword. I meant the falling action of the events. Yeah.
Right. Right. But yeah, that's where it happened. And it's like there's not really any commentary on like whether he was wrong or right. I mean, Saul was clearly not like a model to follow in general, but you just lost a battle. You're about to be surrounded by your mortal enemies who were, cruel and vindictive. What do you do? I wouldn't. I like kind of like assisted suicide. It's kind of misnamed to call that suicide, although technically he did kill himself, but it's more that death is inevitable, and rather than being tortured by his enemies and humiliated, he decided to beat him to the punch. So, um, and I think whatever we take from that, whether that was right or wrong, or whether God was mad at him because he did that, or whether God approved of that, the text doesn't tell us that. So you guys' guesses are as good as mine.
Is there another passage somewhere that addresses this question?
Um, I'm gonna confidently say no.
Hmm.
Suicide is never really directly addressed, although I mean I think the general thrust of the Bible, and that life is valuable, and it's a gift from God. So you don't end it lightly. And if you do have faith in God, then you understand that your life is not your own. Um, to decide, all things being equal, at least, to decide to end your own life is to, I think it's an act of defiance against God. I think it's you telling God that I don't trust you.
Where do
Um,
where do we think Catholics get their concept of it being like the worst mortal sin possible? Is it because of the inability to ask forgiveness after you've done the act? Is that
um, I don't know. What does the great oracle say?
yeah? Because that's the only thing I can really think of why that seems to be such a big deal. But then that gets into, what if someone does it for you, right? Is that the ultimate loophole? Or what if you have a time delay? Like, you take a bunch of pills and it's going to take 20 minutes for them to absorb, and then you spend the next 15 minutes in confession.
Um,
Catholic
well,
loopholes.
I don't.
I'm not
If
asking.
you're,
I'm not asking anybody on this show to justify or argue for logic Catholic belief systems. I'm just thinking out loud.
I mean, I happen to agree on general principle that suicide it's one of the gravest sins you can commit. But I think assisted suicide is, I'm kind of ambivalent about it.
Yeah.
I like I can understand that, the slippery slope argument where, just look at what's happening in Canada and Europe with their euthanasia, which is
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit. It's a step far beyond assisted suicide. Like I get all the arguments against it, and I agree with those arguments. At the same time, most people, when you're talking about assisted suicide in the United States, like the people that Jack Kevorkian was known for
Mm-hmm.
assisting, like that, calling it suicide is, I think that's inaccurate, and I think
It's more like pushing fast forward on your death anyway.
yeah, and it's almost kind of, I think it's kind of insulting to the people because they don't want to die. They want to live, but they're terminally ill, and there's
Right.
no hope
Yeah.
of averting their fate, but they're in agony. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
just their life is nothing but suffering with no hope. Um, and I don't know that you can't another person can't tell you what value to place on your own life, ultimately, at least not
Yeah.
by law. Like,
So
and
Yet the government is. And
right.
I think there's where my issue is. Like, so this is legal if
Under these
check this
conditions.
box
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. You have two clinicians that diagnose you with the same thing and give you the same amount of time to live, and two separate people to tell you that it's terminal, and then you have to be suffering in such a way that you don't want to be here anymore. And if all of that happens, and I thought I saw somewhere in Canada that if you choose this route, that that like your family members will still get your benefits and stuff. So to me, when you start incentivizing it, or I know in Canada, the doctors are allowed to suggest it. So
And
right,
for
hey,
things like poverty and homelessness or
right,
depression,
mental illness.
yeah, things that are just not terminal. And
Well, and that was what I was going to say about what you said, Brian, because I think I agree with your basic, the way you kind of ran your thought, because you were talking about suicide in the pure sense, and then you kind of veered over to the terminally ill. And then Dre, you made the comment like, it's pushing fast forward rather than taking your life. But isn't that then the point that you two just kind of settled on? That conversation becomes its own slippery slope, right? Like, what
Yeah.
conditions are justifiable to end one's life, whereas which ones aren't? Like, I guess the point is once you open the door to any of the conversation, then, I don't want to use the off-color joke, but it's the difference between, potential and actual, and you're haggling or you're negotiating about the middle points, right?
And why do I need permission? Right?
yeah,
Why do I need a doctor to help me do this? There's firearms, there's bridges, there's
that's kind of my thought. Like,
I
if I'm
think
ever
don't
in
be an
that
asshole. Don't
position,
jump off a bridge. If I'm late for work because you're standing on a bridge, that's
Well,
not
just
cool.
jump. That's the
Yeah,
thing. Don't
right,
sit
yeah.
there and don't grandstand about it. Just
But yeah,
walk up and jump off and be about your business, and like
it
off
is
you
kind
you'll
of a
go.
probably
big,
land on
it
a
is kind
car
of a
hill
big
below
decision,
you. Like,
though. Like,
well, to me, if you
like
had the decision, you probably made it a while ago. Hopefully,
it-
hopefully. that didn't sound
yeah,
good,
but
yeah,
it's one thing to kind of decide that on paper. It's another thing
sure.
when you're like right there and all right,
You
I'm
forgot you
at
were afraid
the
of heights.
So you're saying you need assistance so you don't be a wuss? Is that what you're?
no,
Doctors are there to. I
I
know
was
you couldn't
just
do it, but
responding to your
uh,
anti-grandstanding.
oh, okay.
But yeah, that kind of like if I'm in that position, like I don't if I'm at the position where, I've decided there's no hope for my life, and I'm talking about if I'm terminally ill. I'm not talking about if I'm depressed or if I'm like I'm all the reasons people commit suicide that that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're terminally ill, you're suffering, there's no hope. If I'm in that position, I don't care what the government says.
Agreed.
I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And I don't really care what
Well,
anybody thinks about it.
and I
But
can tell you from personal experience, having been around family members that were terminally ill, no one talks about it in those terms, because what I experienced was in one specific instance. I'm not going to get into which family member and all that, but the nurse was like, "Hey, look, this is morphine. This is for the pain. This is how much you administer every so many hours. If you were to ever push all of it, they'll just go to sleep and never wake up." Right?
Mm.
Like that's what hospice nurses tell you. They kind of put the power into your hands, because they're like, "Look, this is a bigger decision. I'm not allowed to do it. I'm a nurse, right? Like
yeah,
Hippocratic oath or whatever. I don't know if nurses take that, but you know what I'm saying. They can't just be running around offing people, but they make it really clear. I'm not going to be here the whole
yeah,
time, and if you push this whole plunger, you know,
yeah. And that's why I think the legal debate is kind of a non-issue. But I think that people want this is kind of a like a lot of things we talk about there's a lot of layers to this, and like when you peel away the layer for why is there this legal debate. Well, there's an underlying way of thinking about government and its role as the arbiter of morality and values and beliefs, like people that I think is misguided. But people kind of want institutional permission. They kind of they want to be assured that it's okay to do this, and so they want the laws to reflect that. I mean, I think that's the impulse that people have, and why we're why the debate comes up. But you look to Canada, where they will euthanize. I would just call it medically assisted murder. they'll euthanize people for poverty. There's that girl in that Dutch girl who was quote unquote euthanized at the age of 29 because she was depressed
Yeah.
back in May. I think that's a horror show. That's absolutely horrific. And it speaks to a deeper problem of just we've kind of, our just life has become cheap. And that's why I don't think we should ever legalize that, but because you don't really.
What about the right to die?
That's my response with what Brian was just saying was that because, I find it comical to think that there's a law against taking one's own life. How are you going to punish me? What are you going to do? Sanction me?
You can sanction your family.
But you can't. Like, you can't punish someone for someone else's acts, right? Like,
you can't?
No.
So far.
I mean, right.
Well,
but
if it turns out you were complicit in it, then.
But what does that mean, right? Like, did you give him keys to the car? Yeah, I did. It's his car. You know what I mean? Or to me, it's an absurd conversation.
Well, I mean, this is not suicide.
You heard about that girl who persuaded her boyfriend to kill himself.
Yes.
And
yes. Yeah.
Which, yeah, I'm kind of. That's a tough. Does she deserve jail time for that?
I don't know. I never even spent enough time wrapping my head around that, to be honest.
I guess there's a discussion there.
Yeah, I mean, I never really even thought about it because I was just like, who could get talked into that? Like, hey, you're right. Maybe I should.
An angsty teenage boy who's cares too much what a girl thinks of him.
What is a right? I think that's one of the things that happens all the time. You have a right to this, and I have a right to that.
A basic human right. That phrase that everybody likes to throw around.
We've exalted rights to like this. If a person has a willful determination to do something, then it's their right. They wanted to, and it's kind of dressed up in some like political correct conversation or words to make it sound like you have a right to do it, and then we just devolve into this like hand wringing of who is more rights because who's more aggrieved, and therefore the victim has more rights. Like we fall into this weird hole of competing wills to decide what a right is and what's not. And then because you have a mob or a democracy that says, yeah, that's a right and that's not because we said so, because we like to have lots of sex and whatever comes with that, because it's a human right? You gotta sex and what you do with your body and the consequences of that, and it's human right.
I mean, I would present that there's no argument that could be made that would suggest that a person would have a right to have a stronger opinion over what I do with myself than my own personal rights. Like that.
Yeah, the question is a right before whom? Is it a right before the government, a right before your family, before your fellow citizen, or a right before God? And as far as my own life is concerned, I don't think I owe the government. If the government says you're not allowed to do whatever, but I've decided, well, my life has such and such value under such and such conditions, I don't care what the government says. But everyone's still going to have to answer to God for that. And that's really the main issue that should concern us as Christians is, what does God think? And I think if you're terminally ill and there's no hope and it's your life is just suffering, I don't think it really matters what the law says.
Okay, well, there's a big difference between terminally ill and, say, disabled, right? So a lot of people like, hey, if I'm in a wheelchair forever, F that, I'm out.
Or in a coma.
Well, coma, I suppose so that goes to the issue of pulling the
Pulling
plug,
the
like in the
plug, right?
open, right?
Which is still the same thing, right? Like
So what's
it's actively causing
so what
cessation
is
of life.
so what is compassion, right? So is is it compassionate to kill someone because they're uncomfortable? Is it or like there's a difference between agonizing and uncomfortable, or terminal and just disabled, or in a coma but brain dead.
Right.
Your organs work, but your brain has no frequencies, bouncing out of there.
Or
That's
I'll give you one better. Is it compassionate to disregard a DNR? So you have a family member, your wife, your best friend, your parent, has a DNR. They don't want to live on life support. They have a very clear living will and advanced medical directive that says I will never be in a vegetative state, blah 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 blah, right?
Mhm.
And they come to you and they say, well, you look, they had advanced will. They don't want to be in a vegetative state, and you're like, I don't care. I think they're going to pull through. We're going to keep the party going. Is that compassion? What if they come back? What if they wake up from that coma?
No,
Are they going to be glad you ignored the living?
What
Right?
did I say?
Right? Like no, I'm being serious though. Like that conversation comes up.
I don't think there are answers to that. I think that's between you and that person. I think it's a case by case situational
Yeah.
thing.
No, I tend to agree with you.
Wait, can you deny a DNR? I think hospitals have to do it, right? Like that's the point of having it. Can a
They
family override a DNR?
It depends if it's on file or not.
Oh, I've watched a lot of hospital shows. And,
Yeah, it depends if it's on file, right?
Okay.
Like so, my dad,
So if I just had an agreement with you, I'm like,
yeah,
hey, bro, you got to pull the plug as soon as that happens. And then all of a sudden
right.
you show up and my whole family's like, what are you doing? You're like, hey.
You walk past there, how's everybody doing? Boop, I gotta go. Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
God bless y'all.
okay. So personal story, right? Had a family member recently with end of life kind of situation, cancer, stage 4, all that stuff. We're having the kind of the family conversation about what's the right thing, when's the right time, all of that. Well, I made the joke that if I was ever in this state, I don't want to persist and I would want the plug to be pulled, but someone's going to have to fist fight Carrie to get her out of the way in order to pull the plug, because Carrie will like be the one laying on top of me with a knife, hissing like a feral cat, trying to keep everybody off of me. So I'm kind of I'm kind of pre-aware of this. I don't care what his DNR said. I'll fucking kill everybody in this room if you try to unplug him. So I don't.
Yeah, get someone persuasive of like, hey, mama, let's take a walk. What do you say? You and I will go get some coffee. We'll chill downstairs for a minute. Let's just get out of the room. Let's get some fresh air.
Wait, what was
we'll
that?
We'll go pet the rabbits. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, look at the flowers. Look at the flowers.
That's bullshit. It's probably gonna be my job. Like that's gonna be so Carrie.
But yeah, so that's why I bring it up, because I know ahead of time what her position is on her. Her position is I don't care.
Well, you married her. You did kind of give her that prerogative over your life,
right?
So
kind of
like if you told me,
she
hey,
says,
Brian,
death do his part, mother. You ain't dead yet.
If you charged me with that, with a DNR and said, Brian, I'm leaving this to you, and then I went in and then I got to the hospital and Carrie's like hissing at me, I'm gonna give her away.
Me too. That's like
I'm not.
You gotta choose new friends, bro. It's not happening. So, or you put it on a file, Matt. Why do you make me the bad guy? Make Dr. Smith come in and be like, hey, yeah. So
yeah, but I don't know that they do it like that.
I don't know if they do either. Yeah.
Because can you imagine how many people would get like beat up and like dead?
Right.
Like you said, you walk in and there's a big family gathering and the guy's like, man, there's a lot of tattooed faces and bald heads in this room. I don't know if I want to go in there and just yank the plug.
Was that show Your Honor with Bryan Cranston?
Mm-hmm.
And his son kills a mob boss's son, and then they try to hide it. That's the first episode, but that's basically what it's about. And he was gonna go turn his boy in, then he saw who it was, and he's like, "Nope, we're out." Nope, because we're all dead if this guy finds out you did it, right? So
now, it's a crazy situation, and pulling the plug, to me feels like it's an act of compassion, right? It's just getting machinery out of the way, and that's not me becoming like some like anti-medicine, I don't believe in doctors kind of thing, but there's definitely a point where it's just too much. And Brian, I think you said it, or maybe it was Dre, but it's almost like the words don't fit. Assisted suicide or euthanasia or whatever. It's kind of like we always like to talk about in biblical passages when there's laws being laid out that the words matter, right? And the word murder is not the same as the word you would use in like a battlefield or a justifiable execution. And it feels to me like there's a nuance here that maybe for better for worse the Bible's silent on, because there's clearly not any talk about DNRs and all that kind of stuff, because medical science wasn't as developed. But they certainly also didn't execute lepers, right? There wasn't like a mercy killing for lepers or other types of wounded. So it kind of makes you wonder if there was such a practice in that period. Spartans took deformed babies and threw them out into off the cliffs, whatever, but that's a little bit different than what you do to old people. I don't know.
Yeah, and the Bible is unique in the ancient world for the value that it places on human life. Like a lot of other belief systems, like Gnosticism, Hinduism, they see this existence as intrinsically bad. It's something that's just humans are made for suffering. We're subject to the capricious whims of the gods. That human life just isn't really valuable. In contrast, you have the Bible where God, let me back up a little bit. Gnosticism has this idea that the material world, the creation of the material world by the demiurge, was an act of rebellion against the one true God, because existence as matter and flesh is intrinsically bad and evil and corrupt, and something to be escaped. To be these bodies are prisons, and we escape as spirits to another world. Hinduism sees the cycle of samsara, of life, death, and rebirth, at this endless cycle, as something bad to be escaped into, and to be reabsorbed into the undifferentiated one of Brahman. But they all have a just an intrinsically pessimistic view of human life and existence. And so, yeah, if a baby's born deformed, why wouldn't you just toss it out? What's the point of, life is a curse on already. How much worse if the baby is deformed? Or in the Bible, in contrast, you have God creating the physical universe at every step of the way, saying it is good, creating man in his own image. On the sixth day, it is very good. Life is a gift to be cherished, and death is always the enemy. But death is still inevitable. And so just that view of just how life is to be cherished, it was unique in the world, and we kind of take it for granted today because it's so familiar to us, but it wasn't. That's only because of the influence of Christianity. But at the same time, it's something we talked about in the chat when we were planning the episode. A lot of the death is the enemy, but we're still promised eternal life. We're still promised resurrection. And so we kind of discount that, and we still cling to life when there's really no hope of recovery. A lot of a lot of what drives up medical costs, it's end of life care. It's for the elderly and dying, steps to keep them alive and to prolong their suffering. Stuff that doctors recommend for patients because they know they'll get sued if they don't recommend that and the person dies. But it's stuff they would never recommend for themselves or their families, because it's just it prolongs life, but it's not quality of life. It's not a life that you want. And it just, it doesn't save the person. It just kind of prolongs the inevitable and keeps them around to suffer more. It seems like if we had a healthier view of death and its inevitability and the hope of resurrection to those who know Jesus Christ, we'd skip a lot of that.
Jerry,
So,
what were you about to say?
Yeah, I was going to push back on some of the end of life stuff, even though I mostly agree. So, because a lot of it is like medication, right? Or something to help you manage pain, or, keep, your blood pressure intact, or some other things.
While Brian would ask why he was
Well,
saying that, I just pulled up a research article from 2017, and U.S. healthcare spending, prescription drugs is only 10%. Physician
Okay.
clinical services is 20, hospital care is 33, and then it kind of tails off to nursing facilities is 5, residential in-home care is 5, and then it starts falling off into teeny tiny stuff. But I think that hospital care that covers ER visits,
Sure.
ICU, all that kind of stuff.
Elderly people, they fall more, they break more
Right.
things, they need surgeries, they have procedures. They're in the hospital a lot more than young people, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking of my grandmother, who I think she had the last couple of years of her life. I think she had a surgery to replace a pacemaker. She was mad when she woke up. She was certain she would die on the table, and that would be that. And then she woke up, and she's like, "Damn it,
Dagnabbit."
Poor lady. Yeah. You hear a lot of that from older people, especially those that have outlived their spouse, right? Because they're tired, they're ready to go. So I think, I think the only thing that you just said, Brian, that I want to push back on is the idea of, if we embrace the idea of dying being positive, but like,
I
that's
didn't say
literally
that."
it's kind of what you were saying. You didn't say it in those words, but I mean, you said that.
Every fiber of my being rebels against
I think
that wording. I don't think
I
death
think
is
how
positive.
I would
It's
put
still
it
the enemy.
how I would put it is we live with too much fear. Too much fear of stuff, fear that's inevitable. We're fear of suffering. We're in fear of, relationship conflicts. We're in fear of being isolated, uh, or even really just living in reality. And to me, that's what compassion is. So it's like, you come with, the sufferer, so you kind of suffer alongside. So I think if somebody had like a disability or was in a car accident, instead of me recommended to end their life, I think it would be my job to make them comfortable, whatever that means, right? If you need me to speak to your dad for you because you guys had a falling out, or if your wife is mad, or how do you get that person to be comfortable and not have fear? And if that means, some kind of pain mediation, then it's pain mediation. But I think that death should be a last resort. And for people to just think because they're suffering, because they're sad, or because they don't have any money, or because these other reasons that keep extending on this medical assisted death trajectory that we're on, I think that's the slippery slope. It's one thing. What do we say all the time whenever somebody, like an elderly actor, dies, or an athlete, right? Jerry West, the logo, just passed away recently, and the first thing we say is, "Man, he had a good run."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. One day Morgan Freeman, heaven forbid, is gonna pass, and we'll be like,
No,
my man had a good run.
My boss, one of my bosses, his father just passed, and he was older. And, you know, I did the usual, hey man, I'm really sorry. He was like, hey man, he goes, dad was just telling me the other day that he was retired for longer than he was working. He beat the system.
Attaboy.
He won at life, you know, and
That's
like,
pretty
that's an
cool.
awesome way to see it. You know, it's like, hey, I had a good job, had a good career, had a great family, got a good retirement. Like, it's okay. You know, sometimes I think, you know, Brian, that was your kind of your ultimate
Right.
point was it's at
Positive
the end,
mental
it's
mindset.
okay to go because that's what
Right.
this whole thing is about. This is part of the process, right?
Yeah.
But I
I'm
think
ambivalent on this.
there's
So,
just that it's just there's a razor's edge there, right? With being okay with going and hastening that to an extent that you're
yeah.
not
Yeah.
taking your life seriously.
Well, I remember,
right?
you
Yeah.
know,
And
during my stroke, you know, I'm thinking like, I got more to do, man. This can't be the end of the line because I
Yeah.
got more to do.
You
I
hadn't
got a
even
podcast to
started
do.
you hadn't started your podcast yet.
That's right.
Like,
So now, you know, now it's all good. I mean, we've got 300 subscribers. So good. That's the number. That's the magic number. 3 bills. Right. So
that
no,
poem from
we
Interstellar.
gotta pump those numbers up, Dre. Those are
okay,
rookie numbers.
I can't go yet. All right, got it. I have not been released from the contract.
Right. Yeah. No, but I think
That-
that's the problem. I mean, Brian, you're saying ambivalent. I think the problem is that the real challenge is both sides. It's a tenuous tipping point, right? Like,
well, death should always be seen as the enemy. But it should
So-
always be like that poem from Interstellar about, you know, raging against the dying light. That kind of sums up my feelings about it. But at the same time, there comes a point where, like, you know, treat death as the enemy that it is, but there's a point where fighting on it costs you your dignity. It's like, because you know at some point you're going to lose unless Jesus returns it like within seconds of when they pull the plug on you, which odds are he's probably not, although at some point the odds are going to be, you know, he will at some point. But
So are you obligated if you have a fighting chance? Should you fight?
yeah,
And
I think so.
I think that's my point. You know, I think that I don't think we should have any kind of social policies that are created out of fear. And you know, if you're afraid, you're just ducking misery, right? Like, or afraid that you might be miserable, so you want to just head that off and go ahead and let a doctor kill you.
so
To me,
let me take a shot at summing this up, because I think we kind of ran around in a really big circle on this one. Sounds like we're aligned that suicide is never the option. Assisted suicide, when it's a matter of convenience or
which I would say is a misnomer.
That's fine. That's fine. But we know we're using common language that we all understand.
Yeah,
but
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just
terminally ill.
I'm furthering your point just with qualifications.
The one that's terminally ill with no ability or expectation of recovery, it's a different situation altogether. Right? Like those things don't fit into the same categories, and neither of those two are suicide in the traditional sense that I know for a fact the three of us are, you know, staunchly against, to the extent that we would ridicule and belittle and make fun of someone who was to consider such an outcome.
Yeah, and Matt and I were talking about this the other night. I'm still pissed off at Robin Williams. Like, I just like I think if you commit suicide because you're depressed or whatever the reason, if your life was if you decide to end your life, I'm not talking about somebody who's terminally ill and doesn't want to prolong their suffering. I'm talking about somebody like Robin Williams, who committed suicide when he had decades left to him potentially. I think you abdicate any claim on the world's affection. You are writing off the world. You're telling the entire world, F you, I'm done with you. And you abdicate any claim on their affection or pity or mourning. Um,
Can you die for a cause? Can you kill yourself for a cause?
Like
sure.
randomly
There's
light,
there's there's an
light
example coming
yourself
to
on
mind.
fire with gas and yell "Free Palestine"?
That's not a cause I would kill
It's
myself
a
for.
cause.
It is a cause. For example, the NFL had the CTE problem, right?
Mm.
And brains were just mush, and they were doing things out of character. They were doing things violently, And Dave Duerson, a former defensive back for the Chicago Bears, knew that his brain was mush, and he decided to shoot himself in the heart and donating his brain to science to like prove like this is what's happening. And it took that huge measure by some of these athletes to actually take this thing seriously and then go through precautions and give earlier retirements and pensions and things to for these gladiators in the arena to entertain us. So we're just like with all these NFL players
Yeah.
or hockey players or whoever contact sports. We love them when they're good, but as soon as they break that leg,
They're no longer valuable to
they're the
us.
thoroughbred that doesn't get to go out. We just shoot them, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a lot different than
I think so too, and that's why I
like,
brought it up, right? So
yeah, and I appreciate that. I'm not like arguing against you for that, but I
and I
like,
just thought of this is real time thinking.
um, like I said before, I can't tell another person
Right.
what their life is worth, what value to place on their own existence. If you just decide to opt out of life because you're sad because you
Because it's
can't
going to
go
be
up,
hard.
and maybe that's, and you know what, I do want to state for the record, if you want to do that, it is your life. I can't stop you. My judgment, I don't think will sway you either way. But if you just opt out because you're not into it anymore, you abdicate any claim on the world, on their affection or grief or missing you or carrying out your will or whatever. In fact, I don't think the living has any obligation to the dead, period. But if you, somebody like you described who decides to end his life to further what he decides is a greater good, I think that is different. That is totally different than a just an outright suicide like what Robin Williams did.
Then why do we call it a problem?
Why do we call it a problem?
Right. So suicide rates are up, and we're dismayed, we're alarmed as a society. There was that thing going around with the 22 service members a day, right? Um, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a problem, but why does society think that that's a problem? Why are we alarmed by this?
Well, I think that is different. That's about trends and about um, social norms, right? When you see trends and things like that, you it's a reason to take a look and take a step back and say, are people doing it because others have done it, so they think it's a better idea? Like, you mean, back to the point of, we don't want people doing this. You don't want people taking this, you know, easy way out, stopping short of actually following through and dealing with whatever problem it is you're struggling with. But we certainly don't want to not pay attention to it, right? Like, specifically teen suicide's really high, right? Like, that's one of the ones that's concerning. And I think the difference with teen suicide versus adult suicide is you're dealing with children that don't know better, right? They've got something silly going on in their head, like they
They don't
failed a
understand the finality of
they
it.
failed a math test and they're not going to get into their top choice college now, or
Yeah.
they had you know they went to a party that they weren't supposed to be at, and played spin the bottle, and things went too far, and now they don't know how to deal with the fallout of that because everybody's whispering about them in the hallways. There's a whole host of reasons why kids come down that path, and so addressing them separately as no different than if there was a disease outbreak or something. I mean, you don't just turn a blind eye and be like, oh, the disease will run its course, it'll work everything out, right? You want to quarantine and address the problems. I think you need to do that with things like suicide as well.
To me, I think that's where the slippery slope is. I think that's when you start telling the society it's okay, um, and that doctors will help you do this, then why not do it when you're in high school and something bad happened?
I think
Your
I
life
agree
is
with you
over.
completely.
I
So
absolutely agree with that.
and that's kind of why I brought it up. So here we
I
are in one breath saying that this is a problem and it's a terrible trend and we need to look into why and we need to have all these programs and we have to have this mental health advocacy and we have to stop bullying and the list goes on and on and on. And then the very next breath, you say you have the right to do this with your life, but as long as the government sanctions it, as long as we harvest your organs, as long as we
As
don't
long as
have
you
to,
petition the crown and get a permit,
yeah,
then it's
right.
okay.
And we don't, as long as, because one of the disturbing things about Canada is that I think I got a graphic. It's not going to be on the screen because I'm not cool like that. Made on track
medical
one
assistance
approval.
in dying. Yeah.
Right. Track one approval, 0 days to get this accomplished. If you're on track two, 90 days. Okay. So whatever the difference is between track one and track two, you can like, hey, I want to die today. They do it. If you have something else, you got 90 days. But the wait for a pain treatment clinic is 167 days. Long-term home care, 213 days. Veteran disability claims, 273 days. Assertive community treatment, 454 days for the wait list. So to me, if you can kill yourself faster than you can even get a pain treatment, and doctors are offering you this option, and your pain can go away in 90 days, or you can start maybe a treatment that you can get in 167 days, then why don't you go for that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to me, that's the
there,
sick part.
yeah,
I mean, you could easily argue that this is about population control, right? Like this is
Sure.
this sounds like, I mean, I don't want to turn into
I'll put on my conspiracy theory hat.
Yeah, let me grab my tinfoil hat.
Right.
But I mean, you could call this a WEF thing, right? Like,
Yep.
like this is just like, well, why not reduce population as quickly as possible in as many ways as possible, right? Like lower birth rates, suicides, organ harvesting. These all sound like great ideas because why worry about human beings and life?
I mean, if we can give organs to people that deserve to live.
Well, and
AKA the wealthy.
Hey,
sorry, Brian.
Eat the rich. Eat the rich.
Well, those are good points. And I mean, you have this, there's this antinatalist movement going on that sees humanity as an infestation on the earth. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of layers to this onion that when we start peeling it down and trying to find the core of it, there's all kinds of bad ideas that lead into other bad ideas. I think we're agreed that Canada something sick and wrong and evil is happening in Canada, that they have this. And not just Canada, you have that in Europe as well.
Whenever doctors recommend things to you, I kind of give side eye now, with the whole opioid thing and, just prescription drugs at all. So
and the
a lot of
FDA
times
food pyramid
hospitals are, they're endorsed by certain drug companies. So, that's the thing that you're going to get.
But
and that's the thing. So to me, it'd be different. I think that like, hey, I am suffering really bad. I need to look into maybe ending my life. And a doctor's like, funny you should ask. I have this thing right here. But for it to be reversed, for to say, hey, I have this pain. Well, one of our options is we can just kill you. Why can a doctor suggest that? Like, I don't.
To bring it back to the Bible and Christianity, part of me wonders if it's not, we have this idea of God as being cuddly and indulgent. He's we don't have a fear of God.
Did we talk about this last week, the teddy bear syndrome?
We talked about it after the show. We don't have time to get into it.
Oh, damn it.
Teddy bear
theology. Yeah. But there's also this idea that you die and you go to heaven. And you know, if you have the right beliefs, then, you know, God's just going to let you into heaven. And so the finality of death just doesn't really, like, we can kind of just not look at that, not consider that.
That's,
So
you know, that's a fair point, because on one hand you have the average Christian thinking they're just going to wake up in heaven, right? So they're going to be talking to St. Peter and having him check their passport. And then the atheists think there's just nothingness. And neither of those sound like bad deals compared to a really bad situation one might find
compared to
themselves in,
suffering
right?
here on earth, right?
Yeah. So that's actually not a bad concept, that it's like, hey, you know, the alternative here is it's either really good or it's nothing. So who cares? Because
yeah.
nothing's better than suck, right? Like nobody wants going through pain
And our
and
standard
misery
for
and
what sucks is
getting
totally
lower and lower,
childish.
gets lower and lower
Lower
every
every
day. Yeah.
Well, you had this Dutch girl in May who, she was sad and bored and decided, and, you know, of course they loaded up in this, you know, she's diagnosed as depressed and autistic and a bunch of other stuff, but
I was in the Marine Corps for 12 years. You know how many autistic people I know?
well, and it's all symptom based. It's all like, how sad are you on a scale from 1 to 10? And like an 8. Oh, yeah, you're depressed. But there's this theory that it's because of a chemical imbalance in your brains, because it's because of the serotonin levels, which has been thoroughly debunked. That's just, there's no basis to that. But we still have this idea of diseases of the mind being diseases of the brain. And if modern medical interventions don't avert it, well, it's just incurable. If you're sad, you're always going to be sad. Has nothing to, and, you know, it never occurs to anyone that, well, your philosophical outlook is the problem. It's that
Right.
it's your
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. I mean, just 100 years ago, they would have cracked your head open and like scoop part of your brain out.
But you know, it's amazing to me that if I broke my arm, I'd get an X-ray. You know, if a ligament got torn, I'd get an MRI. You know, if I have some tendon issues, or they would take a CAT scan of like my back. But if you have a brain problem, they ask you questions. When they have MRIs that can look at your brain, and they can see what neurons are firing in what portions of your brain, and we understand that your brain and different portions of it actually control certain functions of your behavior and your emotions and your ability to move. And the fact that we don't look at that and we diagnose people without even taking a scan of it is insane to me. It's insanity.
To be fair, we do sometimes do that, and we do sometimes find that there is a brain abnormality behind all this. That, just to be fair, that is a thing that happens, but
it's a thing that happens and it gets fixed.
But
they actually address the portion of the brain. Dr. Ammon is one of these. Is one of these people that actually will not diagnose something without taking a brain scan of you first.
That is, and that person is a hero.
I'm on board 100% with him. I call Dr. Ammon, shout out. I know you watch.
But the vast majority of our, psychiatric treatment is totally symptom based. It's just it's based on the reportage of the patient. I'm sad. Oh, okay.
Which
How
is
sad
also
are
crazy
you? Really
because there's
sad.
things in your diet that can give you those symptoms.
Right.
There's amount of sunlight that can give you those symptoms.
But there's a pharmaceutical industrial complex that stands to profit, and changing your diet doesn't make anyone rich. Fasting, exercise, all these things that you can do to improve your life and your outlook and your health, and make the world look better from where you stand. That doesn't make anyone any money. There's no profit in that.
I forget the category of drugs, these new ones, but look at these Ozempics and Wegovy's and whatever, right? And look at all of the weird side effects they're coming up with now that they're equating to this drug that does what people want it to do at some level, right? It's certainly allowing people to shed a lot of weight, but I mean, blindness is the newest one now that I just saw the other day.
I heard a doctor recently. He's like, they call side effects, but they're not side effects. they're the effects that the drugs have on you. Right. So just just
right.
because you're trying
Side
to
effect is a misnomer.
right, if you just because you're trying to get a function of some piece of your body or some kind of chemical pathway to do
Side
something,
effect is a marketing term,
right?
basically.
It's not. It's not a side effect. It's what the drug did to you. Like
Yeah.
so, there's trade-offs when you try to be chemically enhanced, right? Your body is smart. The cells in your body is smart. So I also saw there's a stat that
And
that drugs, like 1/3 of the stuff that you put in your body is like the leading cause of death. Like hospitals are the leading cause of death.
yeah, it in the interest of full disclosure, and this is kind of a few years ago, like I was like 50 pounds heavier. I was diabetic, high blood pressure, obese. I was prescribed an off-brand version of Ozempic, a couple other metformin, other stuff. I took it, lost a bunch of weight. Nobody told me kind of what the effects were, what the side effects were. I had to kind of probe my doctor. Then I started I did drop a bunch of weight. Then I kind of found out about the side effects. Like I kind of thought that I had discovered this newfound spiritual discipline so that I could control myself better. In a way I did. But then I started hearing about all the side effects of Ozempic and I stopped taking it, put on more weight. I didn't go back up to the 260 that I was. Yeah, I was a chubby guy. I mean, I'm still overweight, but I'm
What's
not
wrong with 260?
Well, when it's just pure lean muscle, sure.
But, that is not me, but
just yeah. Well, not
hell yeah,
not too bad.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, just to kind of round this off, fasting gives you the same benefits of Ozempic. It's free. It's nobody.
It's ancient wisdom.
Yeah,
it's biblical.
And it actually is. Like I kind of Christian, the gospel has the answer to a lot of these problems that we're struggling with, but we've abandoned it, and a lot of churches don't even really know what it is, and the false version that we have kind of contributes to a lot of the bad thinking. Why is euthanasia the fifth leading cause of death in Canada?
It's crazy.
Because they're a post-Christian nation and they think that death is a way out, when it's not. It's the negation of life. It's the emphatic final rejection of God's gift of life. And we've kind of, I don't know where I was going with all this, other than just the bottom line that the gospel is the answer, but we don't really know what the gospel is, and so that's kind of leading us into all these bad places.
We do all this either or instead of incorporating both, right? Like, so we have this enlightenment period in our world's history, and we discover all this science. So because we discover science, then spirituality must go away. And then you have these people that are just only spiritual and won't do science. Or when really, if there's a balance and a blend of both, when the science is a gift, when the science is of God, then I think that we can use science and have that within our spirituality, and then have the great balance and live a fulfilled life.
Well,
and a long, strong, healthy life.
I agree with you in principle, but in practice, though, like we have an obesity epidemic. So the answer that's supposedly offered by science is Ozempic. You can take a pill.
No, the science is stop eating.
The
science is get on a treadmill.
Don't eat anything fatty. Oh, you mean like bacon? No, fatty. Don't eat anything.
Well,
And if you need discipline to do that, then that's where spirituality comes in.
and that's why I say that well, science will never be like a substitute for self-discipline and the truth of God.
It
In
is
fact,
if you have trauma though. For example, like in a car accident, I need science to fix that broken limb. I
No,
need science
he
to
said for discipline.
no, but well, it's not a
well,
substitute for it's not a substitute for discipline, but it's a substitute with discipline.
Right,
but
Right.
but like
but my
to
point,
blend what Brian's saying with what you just said, Dre, is you have the accident, but you have to go do the physical therapy, and it requires the discipline to show up to do the PT.
Yo, for sure.
Like all the best science in the
Like,
world doesn't
I'm not
help
just gonna take a
if
pill
you're
and then all of a sudden my
right, and
bones
that's what I
mend
think
back
that's what
together.
Brian was getting at.
and most of the problems that people have, they're not because they got in a car accident. Of course, there are some people who, they got in a car accident, they do
I
have
have multiple
problems,
surgeries that I'm
but
glad I got. Thank you, science.
and the point is not to downplay it. That's why I said I agree with you in
Right.
principle.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But but when you come to these these existential issues, like and
Got that sweet scar right there.
people go they go to what they think of as science to solve their depression. They go to a doctor. Oh, you've got low serotonin levels, which is bullshit. That's been thoroughly debunked. But this is what they think of as science. We used to have a spiritual, moral paradigm for understanding our own behavior and our own life choices. And if our lives were bad, oh, we made bad choices. We were applying the wrong set of values, and we need to change that. Instead, we have a biomedical model. So go to the doctor if you're depressed, he'll give you a pill that's going to fix it. If you're fat, he'll give you some Ozempic. You can just take that pill. You don't have to discipline yourself. You don't have to change. You don't have to change your values or your behavior or your lifestyle at all. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
I
We're
think
seduced by science at the expense of spirituality and morality when it will never be able to replace it. They have to go hand in hand. So
I think we all agree with that. Yeah. But before we turn the show into mental health and how does spirituality and science coalesce, I think we should probably wrap this one up.
If we're talking about suicide, these things are
right,
go hand in hand.
But we're going off into another piece of it though, right? There's a whole nother segment around, antidepressants and psychotropic drugs and
so
hormone replacement therapy and that kind of stuff.
So we did it. So somebody emailed in, gave us a topic. Your topic could be next. So you see how we can butcher all your thoughts.
Yeah.
Hey, also, we were talking about well, we talked about it. Nobody really vetoed me, so I'm going to pretend we agreed. And if we didn't, then go ahead and edit this out, Matt.
My finger's on the button.
Yeah. So Bible passages that you're struggling with, hard to understand. What's this mean? Send them to us. Ask us. We'll try to tackle them. We might not know. If we don't know, we'll tell you.
We'll have a take.
Maybe it'll suck.
I guarantee we'll have a take.
For sure.
Yeah. But suggest some Bible passages you're iffy about, and we'll do what we can.
And our email is mounthermeneutics@gmail.com. Hermeneutics is spelled just like wherever you're watching this or listening. It just like that. Just tap your phone or your laptop or your desktop and look how it's spelled.
And be on the lookout for our new website. So we've got the domain is ready, and we've got a placeholder page up. The website should be up within the next week or two. So by the time you hear this, the site might actually be up. So go look.
Hey, take a peek.
mounthermeneutics.com.
So you can reach me at Instagram. I'm Super Dre, and I had my very first conservative argument online. So if you follow Natalie Beisner, maybe you'll see me on there.
Right on. Where you at, Brian?
Oh yeah, I'm thethirdhelix.com. It's right there on the screen.
Well,
So
if it shows up, I don't think it shows up there. And I'm on X at Matt Moore.
All right. And with that, I'm going to say stay curious, stay enlightened, and we will see you next week. God bless.